Good day, everyone. So, I am Nashida Erondato, and with my partner, Chumaila Mbayabaya, and we are the reporter for today. Our topic is a detailed lesson plan and a semi-detailed lesson plan. Okay, so for my parts, I'll be discussing the detailed lesson plan. So, let's proceed. So, first, let's define what is a lesson plan. So, we have here the definition. Lesson plan is a detailed descriptions of the instructional strategies and activities to be performed during the learning process. Okay, so from the word itself, you are planning for your lessons. In short, it is a guide for a teacher and a detailed descriptions of your lessons. Okay, so our keywords is a guide. A lesson plan is a guide of a teacher. A guide in terms of what the students need to learn and how it will be taught. It includes the different strategies of a teachers and activities that you are planned to apply in your classroom. Okay, also how learning be measured. Okay, so we have here the definition that a lesson plan is really helps for a teacher, especially sa mga baguhan na teacher, because we cannot deny the fact that sometimes kahit na prepared na tayo or we are ready to teach, there are certain time pa din na minsan is kinakabahan tayo and nawawala tayo sa focus sa ating tinuturo. So, having lesson plans is really helps to be more effective teacher. In that way, kahit na, for example, nawala ka sa focus, if you have that lesson plan is, you can still on the process of your learning. By providing a detailed outline that need to be followed. Also, there are one teacher na nakapagsabi na din sa amin before na she said na kahit pa yung mga prepared or master na teacher is it is important pa rin na mayroong lesson plan para di nawawala sa progress ng teaching. Okay, so that's for the lesson plan. So, we have types of a lesson plan. So, the detailed lesson plan and semi-detailed lesson plan. So, with my partner, we will discuss these two types of lesson plan. Okay, so let's go for the first one is the detailed lesson plan. Okay, so ano nga ba ang mayroon sa detailed lesson plan and how to write this kind of a plan or a lesson plan? So, let's proceed. So we have here the definitions. A detailed lesson plan is a teacher's roadmap for a lesson. It contains a detailed descriptions of the steps a teachers will take to teach a particular topic. Okay, so again from the word itself, detailed means everything is being detailed. Everything or it covers everything and helps teachers to fully prepared for the lessons. Since yun nga, in every information is written in detail, or the teacher will written on that lesson. Also, it covers what to teach and all the activities of the students and what students need to learn. Okay, so detailed lesson plan, it focus on a conversation and question and answers between the teacher and the students. In short, in these detailed lesson plans, there is a collaborations or conversation between the teacher and the students. So, as we can see in our detailed lesson plans, as If we can see an example is even the conversation between the teacher and the students is being written. So what are the parts of a detailed lesson plan? So, there are types of a detailed lesson plan. Detailed lesson plan can be broken down into 5 parts. As a part of a lesson plan is different across different websites. So as we browse parts of a lesson plans, there are different uh, parts with the different websites. So what I choose in these presentations is the most common uh, parts of a lesson plan. So these are the most common or usually na pag-parts or pag-divide ng parts ng detailed lesson plans. So these are the most common parts that I have choose. First is the objective, second, subject matter, third, instructional materials, fourth, learning procedure, and for the last one is the assignment. Okay, so let's proceed for the first one, which is the objectives. So we have here the definitions. It is a focal point of a lesson plan or the goal. So focal point of lesson plan because this is the most important part of a lesson plan. So this is the first thing that needs to be considered before writing a lesson plan. So of course we cannot write lesson plans if we don't know the purpose of that lesson. So first we need to identify what the purpose of these lessons and what the students need to learn. So this is one also the reason why the lesson is exist. Okay, so we have here also that a lesson plan should be a SMART. Okay, so SMART stands for a specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, importance, and time-bound. Okay, so when we say specific means it should be easy to understand and easy for students, or it has too much wide or broad specific objective. Okay, so measurable and attainable. So it should be measurable that you making sure that that objective would be can achieve by the students or by your learners. And then relevant, of course, a good objective will always had a good purpose. And then time bound. So you should always also consider the time of teaching. So of course, usually 1 hour in teaching. So you should consider your lessons if it is enough for 1 hour. So with this, by following this SMART, you can clarify your ideas focus. So ma-identify mo kung saan ka mag-focus. And also use the time and resources make productivity. And it increases the chances to achieve the set goal that you have set. So that's for the objectives. Always remember that it should be a SMART. And then let's proceed to the second parts of a lesson plan, which is the subject matter. Okay, so in subject matter, it includes the topic and of course how it relates to the national curriculum. So, a topic should be a specific. So, hindi broad yung topic mo. For examples, the topic is part of speech. So, it should be specific. Okay, so time, which means it should be timeable or napapanahon to the national curriculum. So, kumbaga, relatable sa generations ng students or napapanahon. And then it also includes reference. So, reference is the source of all your informations. For example, your reference is from the website and or from the book. So it is really important to put reference so to avoid plagiarisms. Of course, di ba, no? It is really important na our lesson plan is not plagiarism because we know that plagiarism is a really bad thing. So, for respect for all the owners of the reference, it should put the reference on your lesson plan. Okay, so that's for the subject matter. So now, let's proceed to the third part, which is the instructional materials. Okay, so instructional materials, it is also important that you as a teacher prepared all the materials, or you should identify all the materials that you need. Of course, instructional materials is really important also to make the discussion presented properly, and it adds more in your class discussions. So, of course, in writing lesson plans or preparing for your lesson plans, you should always put at least your instructional materials para kumbaga hindi mo na malilimutan. And then, for the fourth part is the learning procedure, which is dito na yung process or progress ng discussions mo. Dito na mag-start yung pag-discuss mo. Okay, so we have here the definitions that it makes up the body of the plan. It is an explanation of how the lesson will progress step by step. Okay, so body of a plan. So nandito na yung lessons mo for that lesson plan. Okay, so like what I've said, ito na yung step-by-step progress of delivering your presenting the lessons. Okay, so in learning procedure, it includes the following. Preparation. So in preparations where you are going to prepare before the discussion. So here it includes the prayer. Of course, pinaka-first ang gagawin is prayer. And also warm up. It's exercise songs to make the class alive or para mawala yung mga antok nila. And then review. Of course, it also includes to evaluate your topic last in the previous meeting. And then motivations, it's either an activity or a simple motivation. So in these motivations is from the word itself, you are motivating them to be part of the class and to participate on the class, or to make them awake and listen to the lesson for today, to make them alive before starting the lessons. And then, lesson proper, in which dito ka na mag-start yung discussion ng lessons mo. Okay, so again, in detailed lesson plan, there were always a conversation between the teacher and the students. So, kumbaga may palitan ng questions. And then, after the discussions, in the middle of the class, you will give a class activity or enrichment activity, in which, since we are in K-12, class activity is always part of the learning procedure to evaluate the participations of the learners. And then after, you will give a generalization. So from the word itself, general, you will give a short summary of all the lessons of your discussion for that day. And of course, after that, or for them to review for the lessons. And afterwards, you will give your evaluations or the quiz for today too. Evaluation is really important also to, of course, again, to evaluate the learners if they have learned your lesson for that day, and of course also to evaluate yourself or your teaching strategies, because if the result of evaluation is good, means your teaching strategies is effective to them. So that's the part for the learning procedure, which is the third part of our lesson plan. Now proceed to the last part of a lesson plan, is a giving an assignment. So why it is important? So by means of this, it provides an opportunity for students to learn practice and demonstrate what they have achieved, the learning goal objective, of course, to evaluate themselves if they achieved the goal that you have set. Okay, so for example, especially in math subject, it is really important assignment because for them to practice at home in solving. Okay, so that's all for the parts of a lesson plan. So again, the first is identify the objective, the subject matter, the second, and the third one is of course to make prepared for the presentation. You should identify your instructional materials, and then the learning procedure, and for the last one is the assignment. Okay, so we have here why lesson plan is important. Okay, so planning a lesson plan is really effective tools to use in the lessons. It takes the best use of the class time as much lesson time as possible. Okay, so it is really important to make the class productivity. So it promotes meaningful discussion, uh, to make the class meaningful, and it helps organize discussion. So since it make the discussion organized, since you as a teacher have an outline guide to be followed, so of course it will organize your flow of your discussions, and then it adds confidence. So of course when you are prepared, ready to learn, and have an guide outline, so it really helps for you to have more confidence in your discussions. Okay, so I think that would be all for the detailed lesson plan. So I hope you have learned something. So always remember the parts of a lesson plan. So that's all for my parts. Thank you so much for listening.